Hey there, it's Lacy J from Space Bear Media, the makers of Lost in My 40s. Did you know that you can go to spacebearmedia.com right now to access all our content, including our weekly video pre-shows where your hosts ponder ethical questions related to the week's episode and answer some fun questions just for, well, fun. Speaking of fun, if you have it thanks to our content, please consider rating or reviewing Lost in My 40s on your favorite app, or recommend us to a friend who loves Lost. Hey there, welcome to Lost in My 40s. We have reached episode 18, the one where Derek finds out why my t-shirt says 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. It's called Numbers. It's a Hurley episode. Ben is going to give it to us, but first, he's going to give us those power rankings. How are we doing after last week?
Not many surprises. Kate is holding strong in first with Locke getting fairly close in second place. We had some jockeying in third place with Jack falling out of the top three and Sun taking up a position there. Giggity. Bottom three remains pretty much cemented in place with Shannon and Deadass last. Yeah. Sawyer in second, and then Ethan, God rest his soul, in the That's it.
So bad that he's still there.
He's still there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, he's horrifying.
Yeah,
So.
it's gonna and like looking at the charts and everything I've got, it's gonna take something to dislodge him. Like somebody's gonna have to get really fucking despicable if he's gonna fall out of the top three this season.
Yeah, we don't have that many episodes left.
Well, because a lot of what happens is because the people that are introduced in these stories are oftentimes the worst. So we end up saying, hey, we want to kill them. Yeah. They're the worst. So someone like Shannon, she's like, okay, well, she's never going to get it back because we're spreading our hatred amongst all the extras.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
All right, babe. Let's do a Hurley episode. Yeah.
I love him.
All right. This is episode 18, Numbers. So the episode begins with on the beach. And I did notice first off, it didn't actually start on Hurley's eye. I'm not really sure why they do that. There's some sort of thing that I'm not totally getting, because I thought it was the first episode for somebody they would always show their eye, but for Hurley they didn't. So
why
that made me go.
So we will talk about that podcast episode 26. There's no show episode 26 this season, but it will be a special episode about theories and questions after season 1. So we will talk about the eye. Anywho.
So the Three Stooges, Hurley, Jin, and Michael, are on the beach and they're working on the raft. After
it took me a second to hear that, but all right, sorry.
After Walt, the little firebug, torched the last one, and Jin is trying to explain something to Hurley, and he's kind of using hand motions or whatever to try to mimic what, and Hurley thinks he's asking him to make snowballs.
Yeah, that's what he says. It's awesome.
So Jack comes up and he tells Michael that there's going to be people that are going to be guarding the raft this time. And he also has some idea of how, once they get out to sea, he might be able to, get some sort of rescue beacon if Saeed could wire one up. But they would need batteries to do that. And Hurley kind of jumps in and says, well, I wonder if the French chick, I think is what he calls her.
He does. Yeah.
Yep.
So then we cut to Jack and Hurley with Saeed, and Saeed is being really, really cagey. He just doesn't want to deal with the whole kind of Danielle thing. And Jack tells him that he doesn't really have to go, but they need to know how to find her so they can get the batteries. And Saeed sort of, again, just says he was unconscious, or I was unconscious. I don't really know where she is. And that he wasn't really sure even how he got back, and says Danielle or the French chick may be delusional. And then he tells them that Shannon was actually able to translate translate the map. And where Danielle is in like the dark territory. So I guess it's like Mordor on the map, you know?
Right.
There is evil there that does not sleep.
Oh my God.
And while they're talking, Hurley is going through some papers that were taken from Danielle, and he immediately, his eyes lock on to a series of numbers written over and over. And those numbers are 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Is there an echo in here? Nice. We're in a flow today.
Everybody. Okay. Better.
So first flashback. We're with Hurley, and he's sitting on a couch eating a giant bucket of chicken.
Huge bucket of chicken. And you can hear his is his mother in the background in the kitchen. And she says she's making dinner.
Yeah.
And he's eating a bucket of chicken.
He's eating a bucket of chicken.
Like an appetizer.
An appetizer bucket. And she's kind of hounding him, and he says if he's going to continue to live there, like she needs to respect his privacy. So she kind of comes in and sort of chastises him about, what are you doing? You're sitting there eating chicken. You should be going out. You should meet a girl, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, she's a bit of a bitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's not very nice to Hurley.
It'd be really great if he was eating chicken from Pollo Hermanos.
And then you can see that he's actually watching the TV, and there's a lottery drawing going on. And they start calling the numbers, and it was like the Mega Millions or whatever. And they call those exact same numbers, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23. And I think, and the Powerball number was 42.
42.
And he realizes at this point, it kind of dawns on him, like, oh my God, those are the numbers I have. And then he's just faints, goes down.
They said it was like a near record jackpot, so it had to be a lot of money.
Had to be a lot of money.
At least back then.
And so at this point, what we're all realizing is that Walt is actually $83,000 richer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Hurley is apparently good for it.
Yeah.
So that takes us to the lost screen. When we come back, we're in the caves, and Saeed is sleeping. He rolls over, and his eyes open up, and Hurley is just sitting there.
Hurley pulled a lock.
He says.
Pulled a lock.
Yeah, he pulled a lock in a big way.
Yeah.
Big old creepy lock move. Yeah, he's like, hi.
You awake?
You awake?
You awake?
So Hurley asks Saeed if he knows what the numbers mean, and Saeed kind of gets back to him. He's like, well, they might be coordinates of some kind. And then Hurley asks about the location of Danielle's place again, or her, I guess, whatever her home is.
Well, he asks about, is it near where you found the wire on the beach or the cable on the beach?
That's right. That's right.
Because he's going to use that as, that's the easiest way to find something is to just walk down the beach and then head into the jungle.
Come across a cable.
Yeah.
So Saeed is asking Hurley all of a sudden. He's like, well, why are you interested all of a sudden? And Hurley, great game face as always, says he's just making conversation.
I was sitting here watching you sleep, waiting to talk to you because I just wanted to make some conversation.
Yeah, how long was he sitting there?
Yeah.
No other reason.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of guile there. And then as Hurley gets up and walks away, and as you can see, he lifted the map off of Saeed while he was there. So we now see he's got some light fingers.
Yep.
Sticky.
And this brings us to the second flashback. And this is where Hurley and his family are standing out in front of their house, or his mother's house, and there's a bunch of reporters and everything all around. And they're interviewing him because he had just won the lottery. He introduces his family, and then introduces his grandfather, Tito, who he says is like the best guy he's ever known, and that he's worked his entire life. He's never taken a vacation, and that he's going to use this money to give him the rest he deserves. I
love how when Hurley's introducing his family, and he's like, this is my mom, And then he says, "This is my brother Diego and Diego's wife Lisa." And his idiot brother just screams like, "We're rich!
We're rich!"
Oh, yeah.
Like, whoa, who's we?
Who's we?
Yeah.
I think,
Who's we?
who's we?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hermano.
Hermano. That's for the Arrested Development fans.
That is, yes. That's a little Joe Bluth going on. But yeah, he says he wants to give Grandpa Tito the rest he deserves. And at that point, exactly.
Yep, he does get the rest he deserves.
Bite your tongue, Hurley.
He's going to get some rest.
Yeah. Just at that point, Grandpa Tito grabs his chest and falls over dead from what looks like a massive coronary.
Yep. Well, he got the rest he needed.
Maybe he rest in peace.
Sleeping with the fishes.
Oof.
Oh.
Then we get back on the island, and Hurley is filling up a bunch of water bottles in the caves and packing them away. And Charlie comes up, and Hurley's once again acting really, really suspicious.
Cagey.
Very cagey.
Cagey's
yes.
a good word, yeah.
Yeah. He's, but when I hear cagey, I always think of cagey as having some sort of like, this isn't cagey, this is just clumsy.
Nicholas Cage.
Yeah, he's just not good at lying.
Yeah.
And Charlie asks him what he's doing, and he says like he's just going for a walk or maybe going fishing. And of course, Charlie jumps at that.
Now all of a sudden he wants to go on a walk.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Charlie's been really, really hit or miss recently. I guess,
Yep.
He killed a guy. So.
Yeah, and getting strung up from a tree.
PTSD.
He has a tendency to, yeah.
Heroin withdrawal.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been through
That's
a lot.
true.
Oh, and also the whole airplane crash.
There's that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There is that.
Yeah. Right.
Plus, there's the horror of knowing that you wrote "You all everybody."
Yes.
He's never going to live that one
me
down.
PTSD.
No.
Seriously.
I think I will after recording these episodes.
So Hurley gets up to leave, and when he does, like a bunch of bottles of water fall out of his bag. And then Hurley's like, dude, I'm big guy. I get dehydrated. And then he heads out.
Okay.
Yeah. On the beach, Claire is just sitting there, and Locke comes up and asks her to help him with a project. And she jokes that like all she'd be good at is waddling because she's pregnant. And he asks if it basically can
because she's pregnant. Did you need to tell us that, or
yeah.
She's not a duck?
Yeah, that's true.
Because,
Quack.
Because
This may
she's a
have been turned into
waterfowl.
one on the island.
Shannon's the foul one. So Locke asks her basically, like, you can do some manual tasks, right? Like you can hold a saw, you can do this, you can do that. And she's like, okay, possibly. And then he says, okay, great. You can help me then. We go back to the caves, and Saeed is asking Jack where the map is. And Saeed thinks that he'd put Hurley up to actually stealing the map from him. And Jack's like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And Charlie walks in, and they ask if he's seen Hurley. And he tells them that he was acting really, really crazy and that he walked away, or that he'd left. And I think at that time, they both sort of realized that.
Yeah, with a bunch of water bottles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it
He's
dawns
going
on
on a
them.
quest.
Oh, fuck.
He's going on his own quest.
He's going after Danielle.
Yep.
Yeah.
The French chick.
The French chick. And then on the beach, Saeed's talking to Shannon, and basically, and saying that they have to leave if they're going to catch up to him before nightfall. And she's obviously and earnestly, she's actually worried, which is one of the first genuine emotions that you see from her.
Yes.
Well, except for the last week. It's when, they're being consistent. She does seem to be making a change.
Finally.
Yeah.
And he tells her like she's going to be fine. Or Saeed says, I'll be fine. I'm going to be with Charlie and Jack. And then we cut back to Hurley, who's left, and he's walking down the beach.
He's marching very determinedly. He's
very
like,
very
I'm going to find
determinedly.
this fucking
I'm
French
on a mission.
chick if it's the last thing I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we hear like rap music starts to come in. And then that takes us to flashback number 3, where Hurley is driving with his mother in this giant yellow Hummer. And
awful looking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shit.
Horrible color.
God awful.
I hate them. Every single time I see a Hummer, I'm like, oh, you have a small penis, don't you?
Yeah.
I hate that they put Hurley in a Hummer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Hurley
I think it's out of character.
wonderful. Yeah.
And I don't like it. Yeah. Whatever.
Agreed.
And she wants to know where they're going. And she says that she doesn't like surprises. And Hurley says that she's really going to like this one. And then he starts talking about kind of the bad luck that they had recently about obviously Grandpa Tito died. And then the priest getting struck by lightning. And I think there were a few other things that happened.
At the
funeral.
So he gets struck by lightning at the funeral. And then his brother Diego's wife, Lisa, left him for a waitress.
For a waitress.
Which is
And Mom's
stupid
like,
because they're rich. Why
Well,
would you do that?
Yeah.
well, because it's a woman. That's why. I mean, I'm guessing.
Waitress, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then I think Mom says something like, "Don't you mention that horse name to me."
I am Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And says it again,
right.
after this, he's like, I think ever since we won the lottery, it just seems like bad luck is just kind of coming in waves.
We're cursed.
Yeah. And he says, I think the money's cursed. And then the mother just takes umbrage at that. She's like, oh, we're Catholic. We don't believe
There's
in
no
curses. Which is why not? With all of the weird shit you believe in Catholicism, why is curses?
You believe in all these saints and holy
Seriously.
trinities and ghosts and
Virgin births.
Yeah, the Holy Ghost. I mean,
Aren't Catholics the only ones who do exorcisms?
Yes.
I don't think anybody.
oh yeah,
They do exorcisms, and some sects do transubstantiation, which is that they believe that when you take the wafer, that it literally turns into the body of Christ in your mouth,
and the
that
wine
you
is the
swallow
blood
his
of Christ.
Flesh, yeah. And then when you sip the wine, that it literally turns into his blood, and they swallow it, and they're all okay with that. But God forbid a curse.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't
Whatever.
even get me started on the rectory.
Yeah, mijo. We don't believe in that, mijo. So they pull up to their destination. He asks her to put on a blindfold. And then he runs around, opens up the door for her. And you could tell that he's about to show her this new house that he's bought.
It's a big ass house too.
It's a big. It reminds me of the McMansions in North Dallas.
Yeah, it's definitely a McMansion.
Oh yeah,
There's plenty of those now. They're multiplying.
And as she's getting out of the car, she steps on the side or the curb wrong and twists her ankle and goes down.
Yeah, why did they blindfold her knowing that there may be some bad luck going on?
Yeah. And she starts complaining, oh my God, my ankles hurt or whatever. And then Hurley says, do you smell smoke?
No, she does. She's like, man. Do you smell smoke?
Oh, that's right. Do I smell smoke?
Yeah.
And then you can see behind him, that there's fire coming out of the windows of one of the windows of the house. And as he pulls out his phone to call the fire department, the LAPD shows up.
Already there.
Already coming out with their cars.
Bad boys.
Guns on him.
Coming in hot.
Coming in hot. And then, they're telling him basically, get out and on the ground or whatever. And he looks over at his mom and says, no such thing as curses, huh, Mom?
No comment from the Catholic.
No comment from the Catholic.
How do you just accidentally arrest a random person? How does that happen? Is it because he had the Hummer that the cops came after him, thought he was a drug dealer or whatever?
Or something.
A giant fat guy in a yellow Hummer.
Yeah, he looks like the bad guy.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a drug dealer.
Yeah, what kind of profiling is that?
I don't know.
This was in 2004 too.
It doesn't make any
considering what's
sense.
going on now.
Yeah.
I feel
like
a drug dealer in a big yellow Hummer is sort of like a hitman in a white suit. It's just you really need to be keeping a low profile.
Yeah.
You need to go to criminal training school or something.
Seriously.
I think it's
called
training.
prison.
Yeah, management.
Management training, exactly.
So back to the present for just a split second. Hurley finds the cable that was going out to sea that Saeed described, and he he grabs the cable and he picks it up and he goes, "Yo, French chick." To which there's no
screaming in the jungle to this Hurley. Please, he's smarter than this, but
obviously there's no answer from Danielle or any other French chicks thereabouts. And so he starts to follow the cable into the jungle, which takes us right back into the next flashback, where he's sitting in an office, and it looks like he's talking to somebody who's like an accountant or something like that. And the guy says, basically, like, you're getting richer and richer. Your futures have skyrocketed. And he tells him that he's got also that he has a majority shareholder in a box company and that it's lucrative.
Yes.
Don't we know somebody who works for a box company?
Yeah, I figured Boone would like just come out of the shadows and say, "That's my company."
No, it's
I've got a company.
Yeah.
They make,
No.
they make
Locke.
boxes.
Locke was
Locke.
works for a box company.
He did
Locke
he
in a
was
box.
Kind of
regional
middle management.
collections manager or regional collections
Right.
supervisor for a box
yeah.
company. Yes.
Just below Randy douchebag nation.
Nations.
Randy S. Nations. And then he also tells him that he has like a shoe factory, cobblers.
There we go.
That's
Yeah,
massive.
cobbler.
Ooh.
Yeah. But that burned down, so no shoes for you, I guess. And that 8 people died.
8? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hurley
8.
says, of course.
Of course. And then he keeps going on. He says that he should be happy because the building was insured, so he's going to come out ahead on that as well. Plus, he was getting money back for suing the LAPD. And that,
suing him.
Yeah, and that in that time, basically, since he's won the lottery, he's basically doubled his worth.
From a few investments and suing the LAPD.
Yeah.
Nice job, Hurley.
I mean, it depends. Like sometimes things can be overinsured to a point where, I mean, that can happen.
Yeah, those are the people you need to check and make sure that they don't have any lighter fluid in the back of their car.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Right. So, Hurley, I think he says something about like thinking this is sort of like bad luck. And I think that the guy, his financial advisor or accountant or whatever says like, look, you're not the first person that's gotten money and thought like that it's cursed. And then I guess what happens is like somebody from one of the windows or from one of the offices above all of a sudden just goes flying by the window.
Flying by,
that doesn't happen quite yet because the after the financial advisor says you're not the first person to think that the money is cursed, he then asks him, so tell me, how did you pick the numbers?
Yeah.
And you see something like click in Hurley's head, and he's like, that's it. It's the numbers. It's the numbers that are cursed.
Right.
The numbers.
And the guy
bad.
says like, oh, there's no curses. I don't know. Maybe he's also Catholic. And then a guy falls to his death.
After he says there's no such thing as there's a curse.
Which was
He landed on Shannon.
Then we come back to the present, back on the beach, and Michael is working on the raft again, and Sawyer is trying to read a book, but there's so much noise that he starts getting frustrated.
He's reading A Wrinkle in Time.
I did not notice that.
He is. And we will talk about that later.
And then Walt asks Sawyer why he's not helping, and Sawyer, snappy as always, says he's looking out for arsonists.
What does he call him?
Short round.
Yeah.
Short round. Yeah.
He calls him Short Round, which I find comical because Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, that's what he calls the little actor who's also in the Goonies. He calls him Short Round.
Short
That's
round.
right.
That's
Shorty
his
and then
nickname.
short round. Yep.
Yeah.
Booty trap.
Booty trap.
Booty trap.
Booty
Well,
trap.
yeah, that's
Booty trap.
the Goonies, but yes,
Yeah.
he's the booty trap. Yes, exactly.
And then there's some commotion, some bamboo falls down, and Jen and Michael start kind of doing their fighting or whatever, and Sawyer just gets up and gets out.
They sort of bicker like a couple now.
Yeah, they do.
They're the odd couple.
Yeah.
There you go.
They
The odd
really
couple
are the
building
odd
a raft.
couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
We cut over to a different spot on the beach where Sun is watching Jen and Michael arguing, and she's talking to Kate. And she confides in Kate that she's afraid that he's never going to speak to her again because she humiliated him, and is kind of wondering if he's actually going to leave on the raft, or as he would call it, boat. Then we go back again to the jungle where Hurley's following the cable. And then he starts to hear buzzing, and then when he looks up, he sees like a boar carcass hanging up with flies all around it. And then he hears a mechanical sort of click on the ground. And then sort of like Locke again, Saeed just pops out of nowhere.
Yep.
Out of fucking nowhere.
He pulled a
Don't
Locke.
move.
Yeah. Some more transubstantiation. He just manifests out of the air. And tells Hurley that he's standing on a pressure trigger. And then Jack and Charlie arrive at that same point, and they point up to this giant trap. It looks like this giant kind of log with spikes on it that's hanging up in the trees.
Yep.
And basically, let him know, like, you step off that thing's going to come down and crush you, impale you, or do whatever it's going to do. And they start talking about, well, we need to find a way to replace the weight. And Charlie says,
so now we're gonna go to Indiana Jones. The Lost Ark, because he does that move, but who's gonna like pick up a boulder and then swap Hurley out for it?
Right.
You can't,
because you're gonna need a boulder.
No,
and
you can't do that.
What does Hurley say? Does he say, "I'm spry"?
I'm spry.
He does.
I'll jump,
spry.
Yeah.
He does
I'll
say,
jump out of the way.
I'm spry.
Yeah,
I'm spry.
I can do it.
I mean, the other thing is if you're looking at something that's like on a pressure trigger, right? Like gravity is going to have to take over. So this thing's going to have to come swinging down to hit you. So my guess is that you could probably, even if you're not spry, you could step off of it.
It seemed pretty slow to accelerate to him.
I think what the trap is counting on is that you don't know that it's there, and so it swings down and hits you
just keep
before
walking,
you realize
and maybe you walk into it as it swings in.
Yeah. And let's see. So he jumps out of the way, the spry little nugget that he is, and the trap misses him. And the folks that catch up with Hurley ask him why he's out there, and he says that he's looking for a battery.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's half true.
It is.
It is true. This takes us to...
He needs one for the disc man.
Oh.
That's true.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah. And this takes us to yet another flashback. And Hurley is sitting at a desk somewhere, and he's asking the guy at the desk for somebody named Lenny. And the receptionist says that he can't help Hurley find this person if he doesn't have a last name. And then while this is happening, and you can tell that he looks like he's in some sort of like psychiatric ward or hospital or something, and he sees this guy on a ladder over in like behind him in the room, and he's like this ladder, he's going up to put like a light bulb in, it's like an orderly or something, and as he's like on this ladder and it's wobbling, and this guy's starting to like lean really, really far over.
Yeah, you know what's about to happen.
Yeah, and I can't remember exactly what Hurley says there,
but
I
do
he
that
says,
right now,
dude. Do not do that right now.
Yep.
I am a walking death trap.
Yeah.
And then a doctor kind of enters the scene and says, Hugo, what are you doing back here? Obviously.
Back here.
Yeah.
So is this what he put his family through? Being in the nut house?
There you go.
Oh,
the plot thickens.
Interesting.
So the doctor escorts Hurley back to meet this guy, Lenny.
And he's playing Connect 4.
And you see all the people playing at the games and drooling. And
he is playing Connect 4.
He is playing Connect 4.
You're definitely in a psychiatric ward.
And like muttering to himself. But
Yeah. So he walks up and this guy's playing Connect 4, muttering to himself. And at first it's kind of hard to tell what he's saying. But as Hurley gets closer, you can hear that what he's actually saying is
4,
8,
15, 16, 23,
23, 42.
And then Hurley wants to know asks him, like, if are these numbers the reason why you're in here? Did these things drive you crazy? And then he says something about, like, since these numbers have given me bad luck. And he mentions to this guy, Lenny, that he used these numbers for lottery numbers and that he won the lottery.
So, Can I say one thing? I got a little bit of a different impression about this scene when he, instead of it's, did the numbers drive you crazy? What Hurley says is, are you in here because of the numbers? Because I used them, and every time I try to tell someone that they're bad, they think I'm crazy.
Oh, yes.
So I kind of wondered, is like, it's not that he's actually crazy. It's that he knows the truth of the numbers, but nobody will listen. And so he
so the average person
crazy.
who hasn't experienced it thinks he's crazy.
Right. And that was kind of the way that I read the scene, is that Hurley is getting upset that everyone thinks that he's crazy, which comes back. We'll talk about
later.
more at the end of the episode. But that was kind of how I read it. But yes, when he says he used the lottery, then Lenny just like loses his shit.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that.
QAnon.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what he says. You shouldn't have done that.
I mean, how could a bunch of people like blindly follow something that's completely false? That would never happen, right?
No, not at all.
It would never
Not at all.
happen.
Yeah.
I think, Ben, did you just say hashtag QAnon?
He did.
A couple
Yes,
seconds ago?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Since
right.
we're talking about people who know the truth and everyone else thinks they're crazy. So when he mentions to Lenny that he had used the numbers for the lottery, Lenny gets like really, really lucid all of a sudden. Like it's like he just snaps out of whatever, muttering quagmire he's in, and then all of a sudden it's like you used them. You shouldn't have done that. You opened the box.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? Lock is in the box.
Yeah, we already answered that question.
Yep.
It's my lock in a box. Ooh. And then Lenny screams like, it doesn't stop. You've got to get away. You've got to get really, really far away. And then at this point, Lenny's getting really, really animated, and he's just getting more like, you've got to get away. You've got to get away. And the orderlies come in and start dragging him off. Yeah. And then Lenny he says this guy's name. He says Sam Toomey, and then Calgary,
Australia. I think. Yeah.
Calgary, Australia.
He says it really fast, and I thought it sounds like he says Calgary, but I Googled. Yeah. I Googled, and that's how you spell it. That's the actual spelling. Kalgoorlie. Calgary.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I guess so. Calgary.
Those are Aussies and their crazy words.
Yeah. Anyways, that's how he gets to Australia, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we cut back to the island where they're trying to out on their search for batteries from the French chick, and they come across this canyon with this rope bridge.
This episode is like so much about Indiana Jones. There's so many references, because that's what the bridge is too, or looks.
I don't know. I don't know, Dr. Jones.
Yes.
Sean
Connery. Yes.
We named the dog Indiana.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can do that voice later if you want.
So Hurley all of a sudden
he's fine. He's fine with slapping women.
Who?
I did not know
Connery?
that.
Yeah. He
in real life?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Google
Sean
Connery slapping women. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, well, sometimes women need it because they get hysterical.
Oh, so not the other kind of slapping.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's
maybe
an outdated opinion, isn't it? Jesus Christ.
Damn.
Sorry.
Fucking James Bond, really?
Really? So Hurley,
Yeah.
yes, filled with this new confidence from his most recent mayoral bid, Hurley decides that he's going to cross this bridge. So he gets on this thing and it starts creaking, and but he ends up just getting all the way across.
He's got to be like 350 pounds.
He is a very, very large person. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it breaks when the Hobbit crosses
right,
it.
yeah, that's what was fun.
Yeah.
Well, he weakened it,
Yeah, that's right. So yes, Charlie
had
tries
one rope handle too.
Yeah, that was weird. There was only a handle on the one side. So like if you were to tip slightly, you would have just like rolled
you're
right
to the
off
right,
of it.
you're SOL. Yeah.
Real elvish rope. But then, Charlie is like halfway or a little more than halfway across, and all of a sudden you hear it start to creak or whatever, and then the bridge collapses. Yet somehow Charlie is able to jump.
Yes, he jumped while falling.
Yes.
Have you ever seen cartoons? That's totally possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it?
I think
remember a guy that was in a wheelchair can walk now. So.
That's true.
Charlie can jump off of thin air.
It's the gentle physics of Lost.
Yes.
Oh boy, are you saying something? Considering the later seasons, we'll get there. But yes, gentle physics indeed.
So then, I think Jack and Saeed are like, well, I guess we'll try to find another way around, which seems like maybe that would have been your first instinct was like, let's not cross this bridge. Let's maybe find another way around. It didn't look like it was that high up.
Yeah, but Hurley was
in a hurry.
Right? Yeah, he was going to do what he was going to do. Yeah.
But see, I'd actually feel more confident after Hurley made it and I'm the Hobbit. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Even Saeed, I mean,
you would think,
combined, they're probably the same weight.
Yeah. Right. So then we come to another flashback, and this time Hurley is in this little kind of house in the middle of nowhere, and we're assuming that he's in Australia. He knocks on the door, and a woman answers, and Hurley asks if this guy Sam is there, or he asks if this is Sam's house.
Yeah,
and the lady says yeah, but he's been dead for I don't remember. He's been dead for a couple of years.
4 years.
Was it 4 years? Oh, yes. 4, 8. Yes, these keep popping up. Connect 4 years.
Yeah.
And Hurley mentions a guy named Leonard Sims and says that her husband. Oh, and she says that her husband served with this guy when he was in the Navy.
In the Navy.
All right.
And I can't remember. They go on, and he basically says that Lenny had mentioned Sam, and that he had heard something that she had immediately mentions. Like she mentions the numbers.
Well, he says something like, "Hey, Lenny mentioned that Sam heard something," and she's immediately, "Oh, you mean the numbers?"
Yeah,
this is kind of a rough scene with that.
I feel like that's a bad
accent.
sign.
Yeah.
What did you say,
That
Derek?
woman had a terrible accent. It was kind of a rough scene.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So she goes on later to say that Sam and Lenny were stationed together at a listening post when they were in the Navy, and it was like this terrible job where they were listening to like static mostly, but like trying to get like long range transmissions across the Pacific. And that like they never heard anything static. And then like one night, some like 15, 16 years ago.
16 years ago.
16 years ago.
There you
so
go.
That's
16.
important, right?
They keep hitting the numbers.
Well, I said 15, 16. I knew it was one of them.
Right.
But yeah.
But I mean, because 16 years ago was also, we know that was when the recording of
transmission
started as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
true.
it was 4 years ago that Sam Toomey and Lenny served together.
And
there was an 8 earlier in the episode that we were talking about, I think. But anyway. Yeah, they're hitting all the numbers that are in the numbers, so.
And then anyway, 16 years ago, while they're in this listening post, a voice cuts through the static, and it's just that those numbers somebody's repeating those numbers over and over. And then she says, like a couple days later, they were at like some local fair or something, and Sam went to do the sort of whatever that is, where they put all the beans into a jar, and they say, if you guess the number,
beans.
if you guess how many there are, then we'll give you this money or whatever. And it was $50,000. And when Sam
here's the thing. If you put those numbers together, like, it's 4,815,000,000 in the rest. I mean, how many beans were in that jar? How did they use those numbers?
There were 4,815,162,342 beans, Derek, obviously.
How could you fit that many? How big were the beans? Like the size of an atom or something?
It was a big fucking jar.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Know.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Maybe the jar had been to the island.
Maybe he added them together.
Yeah.
168.
Yeah.
Is that what that comes to? 168.
I just did it in my head, and I believe it's 168.
That's way too few. Like it had
That'd
to be
easy
something-
to guess for
Yeah.
$50,000. That's a huge amount for.
Yeah, you have to go with at least a couple
Yeah.
thousand beans to get to the point where
Yeah.
you're comfortable
Right.
putting that money up.
Yep. Okay.
Anywho,
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we write
he,
a letter?
he gets he
Yes,
gets,
I'll
he
write
gets
that
the
letter.
numbers dead on, and he wins the $50,000. So when they're driving home from the fair, the tire on the truck blows out, and then they get into an accident, and then she shows Hurley that she has this prosthetic leg and that Sam was completely unhurt. And then she starts kind of talking about after this happened, he starts to think the same thing that Hurley thinks, that somehow he's cursed, or that those numbers are cursed because bad things are happening to everyone around him.
She has a whole fucking scrapbook
Yeah.
that he put together
Yeah.
of like all of the disasters and death and destruction in his friends and family.
But she doesn't believe in the curse.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know that yet.
We're going to find
Nope.
that out in 2 minutes.
That is
Yep.
correct, yes.
So,
But she pulls out the scrapbook for Hurley.
spoiler alert.
2 minutes ahead.
And then Hurley asks, like, well, did he ever find a way to make this stop? And she says, yeah, he blew his head off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put a shotgun
That
in
is
his mouth.
not-
So that was messy.
Nah, that's not the fucking news that Hurley wants to hear.
No.
Yeah. So then he tells her that he had used those numbers to win the lotto, and that he thinks he's under the same curse, at which point she gets really angry, just kind of like his mother did, and says there's no such thing as a curse.
She must be
instead of-
Catholic.
Yeah. Instead of in like a Hispanic accent, it's in this awful Australian accent.
Yeah.
Not that the Australian accent is awful, but this woman is weird.
Right. Yeah.
No,
She just-
no. It's,
I don't
Didn't
know.
sound
Maybe it's
right.
a different dialect that we don't. It's not as hot as most.
Maybe she's in the
Australian
outback. You know, they speak.
I mean, there's
different
nothing
dialects.
she
Yeah.
can do to be as hot as most Australians.
Well,
You know,
I mean,
yeah.
she's not an attractive woman.
No, wouldn't want to root with her.
Especially with one leg.
And
anyway,
then
she tells
she
doesn't believe
tells-
him.
No, she doesn't believe him, and she tells Hurley, "You make your own luck."
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the island, and Claire is sitting there with Locke, and he's building something, and she's sawing little sticks of bamboo. And she asks him what he's building, and she's guessing that it's some sort of trap of some kind for
What
like
it looked
hunting.
like.
It's a good
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
And then he asks her to hand him some glue. She's like, "You made glue?" And he's like, "Yeah, I rendered animal fat." Because
Everyone knows how to do that.
This
Seriously.
motherfucker is out here making glue and not one pair of shoes.
No, I know.
Dog
I know.
whistles, that
Psychedelics,
psychedelic goo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, priorities here, you know?
Yeah.
priority.
I'm sure he'll get around to the shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, those sound like prioritized correctly.
They've
Gotta
got
get
plenty of
the-
shoes right now, you know, and they had all the
Yeah,
luggage
they'll
that
last
they
a
were
little
able to
while.
salvage. And,
Yeah.
you know, they probably got plenty of shoes and clothes
Okay. Well, now they have glue.
And then
You
they
got
got
and
glue.
psychedelics.
Locke could build shoes. I mean, he's already got the soul for it. So
Hey.
Hey.
Oh.
that was a bit of a stretch. I'm sorry. And then, so, Claire, she kind of thanks him for kind of, hey, thanks for including me because, I'm pregnant. Nobody wants me to ever do anything.
And they don't talk to her. Only
No,
Yeah.
Charlie,
she just
really.
kind of sits out by herself.
Yeah. And then she mentions that she's still, trying to remember like what had happened and that her memory's still a bit fragmented. And, Locke says something to her then. He says, well, I'm pretty good at putting the bits and pieces together.
Was that an innuendo?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
You
I don't
sounded
think
like you wanted us to give you a reaction to that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was supposed to be.
No, I just thought it was interesting that he said that because
No.
he's sort of
Bits and
like,
pieces.
yeah, like he's obviously that's kind of what he's doing. He's taking these people who are kind of fucked up and fragmented and he's kind of putting them together. I mean, he's done that with
Oh.
Shannon. He's done that with
Yeah.
Charlie. And Boone, yeah.
And
especially-
he's also building a thing with her.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I don't know
Okay,
what the
yeah,
thing is,
see.
but he's putting the bits and pieces together to make a thing.
Your insight went directly over my head, but I see it clearly now, and you are correct.
You thought I was getting all dirty on you, didn't you?
Well, that's what's to be expected, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where my mind first went. Bits and pieces. How's this going to, rope and
Oh, shit.
little prego. So then we cut to the jungle where Jack and Saeed are trying to look for a way around the ravine. And then Saeed kind of recognizes all of a sudden that they're in this area, and he's like, "Okay, actually, we're close. We're close to the French chick." At that point, Jack steps down on another trigger, and boom! There's a big explosion in front of them. Both seem to be all right because I guess for some reason I don't know why you'd put a trigger there and then the bombs the explosives 30 feet away. It seems like a waste of
because
I think she wanted to
trying
destroy
to kill them.
Right,
Yeah,
she just wanted to destroy the evidence.
Yes, it was just to destroy her place so that
Her home or whatever.
Yeah, so that they couldn't take any more of her stuff or whatever.
Yeah, she probably took everything she could carry and then just destroyed the rest.
Right.
Why not?
I don't think that she cared whether or not she killed someone, but I think that it wasn't her goal.
Why not destroy it?
Why not just destroy it?
Bomb and trigger.
Yeah, that's the part I don't get.
That's a good point.
That's what I'm talking about. Why would you do that? Why would you
go
make
through
it
all that trouble to make a pressure trigger and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So someone someone see you destroy.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense.
That's why. Yeah, I couldn't figure out, was it a booby trap that was really lame, or was it just a plot hole?
Write a letter.
The booby hole.
It was a booby hole.
I don't know what that means.
What is
a booby trap?
It was a booty trap.
It was a booty trap. So then we find out that again, like we said, it was her place that she was living in previously, and it was abandoned, and now it was in flames. So then we cut over to Hurley and Charlie. They heard the explosion and they're yelling for Jack and Saeed. They end up getting into a little argument. And Charlie says that Hurley, what did he say? What did he say he was acting as earlier when they crossed the bridge? He called him something earlier, and it was funny. But
a bloody nutter.
A bloody nutter. No, that was it.
Bloody lunatic. Well, it was bloody lunatic.
No, he called him a
bloody lunatic first.
Yeah.
Bloody nutter this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Hurley already thinks he's crazy.
Yeah. So Hurley, at that point, you see him get really kind of more focused and angry than you ever really see him get. And he just says, I'm not crazy. And Charlie says, I've got a right to know why we're out here. And that at that point, they hear a gunshot. And then they hear another. And then they realize at that point that somebody's actually shooting very poorly in their direction.
Yeah.
Stormtroopers.
You can't hit Hurley.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hurley's kind of a big target.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, stormtroopers, absolutely right.
Doesn't Charlie call Hurley Captain or Colonel Kurtz in that scene?
He does. I think he does, yes.
Yeah.
It's a little Heart of Darkness reference there.
Yes.
So then they take off running.
In the morning.
Exactly. So they take off running, and Hurley very, very quickly just trips and falls. And when he looks up, he's at the end of the barrel of Danielle's gun. That is not any sort of double entendre. That's actually at the...
Literal gun in his face.
He's got a gun in his face. And he says, you must be the French chick.
That's what you'd say. You have a gun staring down the barrel of a rifle.
Yeah,
the mayor of Island Town.
but then at that point, you actually hear the action of the gun go, which I was like, okay, why? Did she had fired rounds, and then did she not reload? Did she not chamber another round? It made me wonder why she was pointing the gun at him, but was not
because
ready
most
to
people
fire
don't know
anymore.
how guns work, and that sound is threatening.
Yeah. So Hurley immediately just asks her what the numbers mean. He kind of loses it and starts demanding answers.
Well, when she says, I don't know.
Yeah.
He asks if she says, I don't know. And he's just it can't take it. He's so
frustrated.
Pissed. I have to have these answers. And he makes some comment about how he's, what was it? How he's excused this thing and that thing, and then he says something about like the pissed off giraffe running through the jungle.
No, he
which
said
I think
that
he means
thing in the
smoke.
woods. Maybe it's a monster. Maybe it's a pissed off giraffe.
Great. But you're right. Like he loses his shit because he just can't take it anymore. He needs to know. Hey, Ben.
Yeah, babe?
Got any special occasions coming up that you need a card for?
Is this a trick question?
No, it's an advertisement.
Is this about barbcards.com again?
Bingo.
So I suppose you're going to remind me that each handmade card is only $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't come with busy backgrounds or flowery poetry.
You got it. Barbcards.com offers to-the-point communication within several different categories, including our favorite, potty mouth. And if you can't find what you want, barbcards.com can do customizations.
Can I still get all of my cards for no more than $4 shipping, no matter the size of the order?
You know it. Barbcards.com has got all you need. Hey, Ben.
Oh my God, what are we selling now?
Merch.
Our merch?
Yes, sir. Shirts, coffee mugs, wine tumblers, bottle openers, stickers, magnets, and more. Your choice of product and your choice of Space Bear Media graphic from any of our podcasts.
Please tell me we're not making merch now, too.
Of course not. We'll stick to podcasts, and Pixis products will do the rest.
Thank God. I bet you have more to say, though.
Sure do. Pixis Products is a small business run by a local mom, well, local to us anyway, who needed something else to do besides being a snack bitch.
What?
A snack bitch, also known as a mom with a young child.
There's still more, isn't there?
Yepers! Pixis Products works with other small businesses for supplies, art, and other collaborations at every opportunity, including ours. In fact, Pixis Products even gave Space Bear Media our own storefront on their site. You can find us at shopspacebear.com.
Say what?
You heard me. Go to shopspacebear.com and buy something.
So he just starts demanding answers from her, which is pretty ballsy to do with somebody that has the gun.
Yeah.
But it kind of shows the extent of his desperation at that point. He just wants somebody to explain it.
Yeah.
So she lowers the gun, and then she kind of starts to regale him with a story basically the story of how she got to the island, where she was on a ship and they picked up that transmission of the voice. And then they kind of changed course to go towards that signal to investigate it. And then that's what ended up shipwrecking them on the island. It's almost like the numbers were like the sirens.
The numbers were calling them. Yeah.
Like calling them to the rocky shores. And then after they shipwrecked, they continued to search for the transmission. And then they ended up finding, after several weeks, a radio tower. And she says it was by the Black Rock.
There's that Black Rock again.
That Black Rock again. And she said it was while they were searching for those numbers that her team came down with whatever illness she had mentioned earlier.
And then we murdered them all.
And then murdered them all,
yes. Yeah.
Right.
And then after that had happened, her whole team was dead. She went back to the radio tower at the Black Rock and changed the transmission to the one that they had heard, that Saeed and Shannon deciphered.
16 years ago.
16 years ago. Yes.
Again, the 16, yeah.
And then he just tells her kind of point blank, like, the numbers are cursed. And she is the first person that actually agrees with him.
What a relief.
It kind of dawns on her when he says that. She's like, you're right. Ever since, the second I heard those numbers, my entire life has fallen apart since then. Everyone I love is gone.
The look on Hurley's face when he finally gets this validation. I'm crying. I cry a lot through this show. But like in this moment, I know what that feels like to like get a validation that you so want, but can't seem to get in that moment that happens. It's just like, fuck, finally.
Yeah.
Such a relief.
Yeah, you can see it on his face.
One thing I forgot to mention was when he was telling her, like, when he was starting to get heated about it and saying he wanted answers, and he was going off about how cool he had played it. One of the things he said was, "Oh, good old fun time Hurley."
Yeah.
And now I want some friggin' answers. That's what he said. Yeah.
Angry Hurley.
But I love that when she agreed, he just grabbed her, like he just walked
just
forward,
hugged her,
gave her a big old
huge bear hug, and the funniest part about it is, like, Danielle does not know what to do, and she just kind of stands there, arms by her side, like receiving this giant bear hug. Like, what is happening?
Deer in a headlight.
She probably loved it, though. I mean, I don't think
16 years alone, hadn't been touched by a
yeah.
man or
Except
anyone.
Saeed. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, she was electrocuting him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't
What
a
else
bear
could she
hug.
have done when he was
I think she
tied to
wanted
that
fuck him
mattress?
too, though, yeah.
You think she
He was
wanted
tied to
fuck
the
Saeed?
mattress, unconscious.
Why wouldn't she?
Yeah.
Good point.
16 years.
16 years.
But it, like, that would have been a little rapey.
Time.
That would have been a lot rapey.
16 years.
You should have just touched that wire to his schlong and hopped right on.
Oh, damn.
I mean,
Good old
no,
fun
that's,
time Hurley.
Yeah.
That's legitimate rape. I don't need it. That's not
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
So she's like, I got some car batteries and some oysters back at my place, and
Holy shit.
Oysters.
so then we come back to that didn't actually happen. They just hug, and then the scene sort of it cuts over to Jack and Saeed near the explosion in Danielle's old place, and Saeed finds Nadia's photo, and I noticed this, like, okay, this place blew up, right? But the photo is like, it's cut in weird places, but it's not singed or anything. It looks like somebody
the
just went.
edges looked singed. I
Yeah,
thought
I
that's
did
what they
too.
were.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still, it's like in the middle of a big explosion. You think it'd be
Yeah.
like
Well, and he
pieces,
picks it up
like
from like the middle
little-
of a pile of rubble that has like nothing else is intact, just this
Yeah.
photo chilling on the top of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the way that it's torn, you could tell it was like, they give it to the intern before the scene. Hey, can you rip this up, make it look like it was in a...
Oh, well.
They were like, that's what I get for being production assistant 3. So at this point, Charlie comes running over and tells them that they were being shot at and that he lost Hurley while they were running. And then they discuss going to actually find Hurley.
So that was kind of foreshadowing earlier, or in the last, was it this episode or the last episode? It was the last one when they were burying Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, if it's zombies come, you're going to get away. And I mean,
That's
true.
funny. Yeah.
He goes
Right,
down
yeah.
first. Yeah.
yeah. So foreshadowing.
Is that what it was?
Is that what it was? 4 shadowing or 8 shadowing or 15 shadowing? Ooh.
16 shadow.
16 shadowing.
42, which we all know is the answer to everything.
Yes, it is.
It'll all come back around.
We're just like mixing up all our sci-fi now.
So anyway, at this point, when they're talking about, hey, we need to go find Hurley. Hurley, in old Locke fashion, just pops up out of nowhere. Hey,
Yeah,
guys.
he does.
Pull the lock.
Pulled a lock, and he hands Saeed a battery. And he's like, well, she says, hey.
French chick says
Yeah.
hey.
He does. He's
Chick
all
says hey.
happy
Says
about
hey.
it. Yeah, she said, that's great.
So, when I saw this, the first thing I thought of was like, Hurley, he got a battery. So he's obviously going up in the power rankings.
Oh.
Hey. Yeah. So again, sorry for that one, guys. I'm not at my best today.
We
So
survived.
now, now it's nighttime, and once again, the beach looks like a I don't know, like a sandals resort with all the torches and bonfires going on.
It totally does.
Not that I've ever been to a sandals resort. It's how I always assumed
seen
that
pictures.
look. Okay, good.
Looks like fun.
Hedonism.
Everybody there's having a good time.
It's all adults. and like drinking.
Sandals is different from
Right?
hedonism.
I'm about to say, I thought it was all like
mean it
wife
that way. I
swapping
mean,
and girl topless women.
I mean, the resorts don't allow children, you fucks.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Because there's the hedonism resorts.
I'm sure there are. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Well,
bunch
Ben,
of
we
it.
stayed at that one in Costa Rica. That was nice for 3 nights.
Yeah. Was that a sandals?
No, well, it was just a generic one, but it was a hell of a
Yeah.
lot better than where we were.
Oh,
Yeah,
for a
it
second, I
was.
thought that the two of you went
That was
to
quite
a
an adventure,
hedonism.
actually.
I
Oh
did
my
too.
God.
We
I
got
was
the
like,
Jeep
hold
stuck
up,
in the mud,
Oh my God.
No.
Yeah. That Costa Rica trip was crazy.
and the locals
We
had
are
to pull
having
us
two
out.
totally different conversations.
We are.
All right. Back to the beach. Back to the Sandals Resort. Where Jen and Michael are they're wrapping up their hard day of work on the raft. I think at this point was Saeed gives them a battery, I think, for the
Right, for the like rescue
beacon.
beacon or whatever,
for the rescue
yeah.
beacon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we cut over to Locke, and he's kind of finishing up building whatever he's building. And he asks Claire if she had chosen a name for her baby. She tells him that she was going to give the baby up for adoption, and then tells Locke that it's her birthday. And he asks her, well, why didn't you say anything? And she says something about like, well, it doesn't really matter.
Not wrong.
Not wrong.
Yeah,
True. Yeah.
for anybody on the island. Who the fuck cares? Do you think you're special?
Jesus Christ. Christy,
Jesus.
she's all wound up.
So Locke tells her,
What are we laughing about now?
I don't even know now.
Oh my God.
So Locke says it's good luck when your child has a birthday close to yours, which sounds like total
He just
dumb
pulled
shit
that
to
out of
me.
his ass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. And she asks Locke if he really believes in luck, and he says, "Yeah, I believe in a lot of things." And then he puts on the last piece to whatever the project is, and she still can't tell what's going on, what he's building. So until he flips it over, and it becomes very obvious that it's a cradle. And he says, "Happy birthday, Claire."
This whole scene is really sweet.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
The softer
kept
side
her
of love
company.
of Locke.
Yeah. He kept
Yeah.
her company for the day, and he made her a gift that ended
Yeah,
up
I noticed
being
there was a
birthday gift.
cradle like before she did. I was like, oh, okay, it's not a
Did
trap,
you?
it's a cradle. Yeah, I was like,
I
I was
think
trying
I-
to figure it out too.
I think I figured it out the first time I watched it as well. I was like, of course, she's about to give birth. But yeah, it's a really sweet scene. Makes you like Locke even more, I feel like.
Yeah. He just keeps winning points. I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
so then we
His
cut
creepy
over
way.
to the beach where Hurley is sitting by the fire, basically with his wet shirt on a stick, drying it in the fire, like a big
Yeah.
s'mores, basically.
Yeah, that's what it looked
Yeah.
like.
So Charlie says to Hurley that he was about to tell him the truth in the jungle, and he wants to know if he'll still tell him that. And Hurley tells Charlie that it was his fault that they were in a plane crash, and that it was basically because of his bad luck. Charlie gets kind of butthurt at that. Is basically says everybody's got baggage, and he almost tries to one up, and he was like, I was doing heroin in the bathroom when the plane crashed.
Yeah.
Yep.
He
I
does
heard-
kind of try to one up him. You're
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
He totally does. And he was like, well, is that your fault as well? And then, this whole scene pisses me off. Charlie's just kind of a little shit in this scene. And it's like,
Yeah,
well,
he really
okay,
is.
now I told you my big secret. Now you've got to tell me yours. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I was like,
No, I don't.
you foisted your big,
Foistered?
yeah, you foisted
a-
your big, that was you remember when
That's
Trump
a Trump
said that?
word. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, you foisted your big secret on me. Now I've got to tell you mine. That's like, I don't know. That sounds like a
Kofifi.
manipulative game
I
of
was just going to
doctor.
say coffee.
Kofifi.
Kofifi.
Kofifi. Huge.
So Hurley huge. So Hurley just Hurley tells him that he had won. He was worth $156 million back
Wow.
home. And again, Charlie, even more butthurt than before. He's like, I bared my soul, and all you can do is tell me this bullshit. So I don't know. That entire that entire conversation was kind of dumb, I thought. But
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of thought it was funny that he did tell him the truth, and Charlie thought that he was bullshitting him.
yeah.
Right.
I think it's just Charlie's kind of place in it. I felt like he was just being a kind of a little dick.
Just couldn't handle the truth.
I mean, I think we're on day 36 now, and so it's still been like less than a week since he murdered Ethan.
Yep, 36.
It's true.
So I'm going to give Charlie like a little bit of grace.
Yeah, he's probably
still
not in a good
PTSD'd.
space.
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess, Saeed had told him earlier, like, you're not alone. And maybe Charlie's acting on that. He's trying to, like, confide in people and try to get closer to people. That could have been it, too.
Right. And then thinks that Hurley is bullshitting him. And so you can see why he would get upset by that, I guess.
Yeah. That's true.
Somebody just needs to, like, hug him hard and keep telling him, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Dude, don't do this. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Don't do this.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault, Charlie. It's not your fault.
So then we cut to the jungle where the camera is on the partially excavated hatch.
Very excavated hatch.
Very excavated, yeah.
Yeah. So
Seriously.
somebody had a bulldozer in their suitcase, apparently.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and Locke keeps showing up in other places, having
Who's
other
actually
conversations. So yeah,
excavating?
I guess Boone is working his ass off.
Yep.
What's the dog's name? You got him just
Vincent?
digging around. Vincent. That's it. They got Vincent tied there, and he's just digging around the fucking thing.
They're sticking like dog treats down in the dirt.
So as we zoom in, or the camera zooms in on the hatch, you see etched on the side of it are the numbers: 4,
Oh my God.
8, 15, 16, 23, 42,
42.
What?
15.
What?
Wow, that was like, holy shit.
The numbers are on the hatch, Derek. Oh my God.
I know. I was like, what the hell?
All right, guys. That is the end of numbers. Let's talk about a fun fact. So I have no idea what fucking episode it was in. Last time Sawyer was reading a book, and the book was Watership Down, and we talked about that. And this week, we're going to talk about the book that he was reading in this episode. It is called A Wrinkle in Time. It is the first book of a series that I read when I was 9 years old, and this series of books is the reason that I like science fiction. It turned me on to that as a child. Yes. So, the original, like I said, it was the first of a series. The original was published in 1962, and it is part of what the author calls the Time Quintet. So you have a wrinkle in time, a wind in the door, a swiftly tilting planet, many waters, and an acceptable time. I read all of these as a child. And it centers around a 13-year-old girl named Meg Murray. And there are a few other... Exactly. So there are a few other recurring or like constant characters in there. Her younger brother and her friend. And so what happens is they find out that their father, who was a scientist and he's gone missing, she finds out that the reason he went missing had something to do with what is called the Tesseract. And their neighbor, Mrs.
Isn't that the thing in the Marvel movies?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, that's where I thought I heard that before. I was trying to think.
And so their next door neighbor is named Mrs. Whatsit. And you come across these three women, Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which, and they know all about the Tesseract, and they know all about what happened to their father. And these kids go on planet jumping, time jumping adventures with these women. You go to all different planets, you meet all different kinds of aliens, and it's basically science fiction for children, and they're fucking great books. And so I wanted to, I love that he was reading them. These books literally changed my life. And I love that Sawyer's reading it. There have been 2 film adaptations, both by Disney. One in 2003, which was made for television, I guess, like the Disney Channel, and then one in 2018. I have seen neither. I don't want to because I feel like I might hate
It might
them.
ruin it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I really hope that the rest of the books are also in the luggage somewhere because, I mean, how can you just
'cause
read
it's
the
terrible.
first book in a series?
Oh, the first of 5? Yeah, that'd be awful.
Yeah. Sawyer would be
let's
like,
hope.
oh my God, my life is incomplete.
All right. So that is the fun fact for this week. Let's move on to moments. How about Derek? Best and worst.
The best moment for me was Hurley finally learning about the numbers whenever Danielle agrees with him that the numbers are indeed cursed, because that the whole episode was his quest to, get validation that, it wasn't just him thinking this. And the worst moment was the conversation with that woman in Australia. That accent was just terrible. It was kind of a long, drawn-out story. It was just like, oh, okay, you wash your leg, you got some beans. Okay, let's move on.
Crikey, you're boring.
That's great. Is that the boar that was in the tent?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
seriously.
figuring Locke would pop up and start making coffee or something. At least his stories are a little bit more interesting.
Can imagine that scene where like it runs away with his tarp and he goes up and he's like, and he finds a prosthetic leg somewhere in the.
This is Lost. Anything is possible.
That's two
Anything
people
is
with prosthetic
possible.
legs. The old farmer, no, he had an arm, prosthetic
That's
arm.
right.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
What is it with people?
That Kate ripped off of his body.
Yeah, dragging him out of the burning wreckage.
Oh, fuck. All right. My best moment was the same. The moment of Hurley's validation. I didn't think there were a lot of bad moments in this episode. So my worst was when Charlie didn't believe Hurley because Hurley really was being genuine and Charlie was acting like a little shit. How about you, Ben?
My favorite moment was when Locke turns over the crib and says, "Happy birthday, Claire."
Aw.
I'm not
That is a
normally
sweet
sentimental, but that's a very sweet moment.
It was.
And then the worst moment, again, I kind of was in the same position. It was hard to find like really bad moments, but I think like the most just kind of cringy moment was when the mom twists her ankle and then the house burns down and then the LAPD shows up. Like that's just,
Yeah.
kind of a confluence of fuckery right there.
That's a great sentence. Christy, how about you?
So yeah, of course, Hurley hugging Rousseau when she agreed about the numbers being cursed. But I also loved the line, "That thing in the woods, maybe it's a monster, maybe it's a pissed off giraffe." Fucking loved
great.
that. And then I also loved when Hurley gave the battery to Saeed and was just like, "The French chick says hey,"
Very
so
funny.
nonchalant, and
Yeah.
like, she's my bud. We're good.
It's
He's like-
rare you have a best moment without Hurley in it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I
They
just
need to
love
He's the
him.
Really,
comic
they're all-
relief.
They didn't make him like, he should be their envoy from now on. Like he should just be the person that goes and like schmoozes
Hello,
and stuff.
he's the fucking mayor of Island Town. That's
I
guess.
that's it.
I get that,
Yeah.
but a mayor and an envoy are different.
Oh, I don't know what an envoy is then. I thought that was just like, never mind. I don't know.
Mayor is a mayor, and an envoy is an envoy.
Right.
Yeah.
Duh.
Oh,
Duh.
well,
Everyone
thank you
knows that.
so much for that explanation,
Captain
Derek.
Obvious right here, yeah.
Derek had the words. Derek has the words. He's got the best words.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. My worst moment was hearing that Sam blew his head off with a shotgun.
Oh, yeah, that's a bad moment.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah,
and seeing the numbers on the hatch was like, dun, 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 So anyway, that's it.
Why don't you go ahead and give us your rankings as well?
Well, of course, Hurley is my favorite in this episode. And I'm going to go with Lenny as my least favorite because he just freaked the fuck out. So, and then I'm going to have a threesome by fucking Jack and Saeed because
Heyo.
that little adventure that the four of them went on and then they both went on their own little side quests. I just liked the way that Jack and Saeed communicated together and, they had,
You want them to communicate all over you?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's go ahead and kill the LAPD, which I will say, since I'm the first one giving my rankings, I will say I did not come up with the LAPD.
All right.
Others in the group did. And then I was like, oh, yeah, that's great. Because it was hard to choose someone to kill in this episode.
There was. Yeah. And so that was me. And so just for everybody, for the listeners to know, we have a spreadsheet and that keeps track of all of our rankings, which we can see, and we go in and we enter the stuff in. And I was really, really struggling this week on a worst character or someone to kill because it was just such a great episode and everybody was so great in it. And so the only thing I could come up with was the LAPD, and I put it in there, and the rest of you saw it, and you were like, oh, yep. Yeah. So disclaimer, do not actually kill police. Do not kill the LAPD. We are not advocating that. It's just within the context of the show. They were the worst character, false arrest, and all of that. So for me, my best character was Hurley. My worst character was the LAPD. And my fucking kill follow that as well. I'm gonna hop on the mayor of Islandtown, and I'm gonna kill the LAPD. Not all for real. Derek, how about you?
My best character was Hurley, of course, and the worst was the LAPD for the same reasons. Because actually, and I had that blank for a while until I saw the LAPD because it really wasn't a terrible character per se in this show.
Yeah, I actually left my number 2 and 3 choices blank because it was the only one I could come up with. That was bad. Yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna fuck Sun because the bikini is carrying over into this episode.
He's got blue bikini on the brain.
Yes. And then I'm going to kill the LAPD in the show, not in real life.
No, don't at us. Don't call the police.
Right.
No, don't swat me, please.
All right, Ben, give us your power rankings and then update us as to where we are after this episode.
I mean, Hurley obviously was the best character. My worst as well was the LAPD. Unlike you guys, though, I didn't kill the LAPD. I fucked the LAPD because fuck the police.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Well done.
Don't add us. Yeah. Don't add us. We're from the 90s. It's a song lyric, I swear.
Yeah. Yes.
And if for kill, I couldn't really figure out anyone to kill, so I am going to kill Randy Nations again.
Again?
Okay.
All right.
Randomly, just out of nowhere.
Yeah. He just needs to go. Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah, I saw him there and I'm like, Randy. Oh.
Randy S.
Nations.
You can kill Randy anytime.
It's funny that I killed the police, but I killed Randy. You'd think, fucking and yeah. Well, Randy, means horny. Anywho,
I wasn't there with you, babe.
For the power rankings, we don't really have a whole lot of changes here. We've still got Kate at the top, no surprise. Locke holding strong in second place. It's actually tightened up between she and Locke. I think it's only 1 point difference now. Jack jumped back into third place, pushing Sun out of the top 3. The bottom of the barrel is still the bottom of the barrel. Shannon's the worst. Sawyer in second. Ethan still holding strong in third.
I'm surprised that Hurley hasn't climbed up in the rankings. I guess you know what it is. He's in a lot of best moments, but doesn't get best character because they give him all of these super good little moments.
Yeah, right. He's just got these little quips.
Little side quests, yeah.
He's definitely over the last 3 or 4 episodes, has been rising more than anybody else. But for so many episodes, he just wasn't that much of that crucial of a character. So,
right, that's what I'm saying. He just gets the good moments. Yeah. Christy, what were your final impressions of this episode?
Well, I will always love a Hurley episode. And now we understand why he doesn't mind losing $83,000 to Walt.
Right.
So, I'm glad they cleared that up. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed, and I've probably said this before, but they all keep saying lost in their conversations with each other. So.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
They do it a lot. They're like, oh, well, this is lost, or that, he's lost. Yeah, they say it a lot.
Okay.
So,
holy shit.
My final impressions, just wow of an episode. It adds so much more to a show that already has so much. Finding out about these numbers, realizing that we've seen these numbers in other places and that they're on the side of the hatch. It's just what the fuck is going on? And I love it. I love that it makes me feel intense and excited to see what comes next. Ben?
I liked this episode a lot, and I find it somewhat reminiscent of the episode with Claire about her baby, because this is one of the very first episodes where when you go through the flashbacks, the antagonists aren't other people, right? Like the antagonist in this episode is this sort of concept, these numbers. There's some sort of like external tormentor that isn't a person. It's just this. It's sort of like this nebulous concept, and I felt like with the Claire episode, it was the same thing. There's this sort of supernatural element that's getting threaded through some of their stories, and because of that, I felt like it stood apart from a lot of the other episodes. So I thought it was a really cool episode. I liked it a lot.
Alrighty, Derek, impressions and questions. What you got?
Well, this is actually one of the three things that I kind of knew about the series before I watched it. Was
you
that
can't
someone
not
had won,
hear about the numbers,
right? That someone had won a lottery and they were stuck on this island, so I knew that.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a real good episode because it explained the numbers that have been brought up at various times in previous episodes. It also answered my question of why Hurley was on the TV in the previous episode.
Yes,
There you
That was
go.
a quick answer.
That scene where in Jen's episode, she is watching him being interviewed. I guess right before Grandpa Tito dropped dead.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right before her dad gave her puppy away.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's definitely something going on with these numbers because it causes a lot of bad things to happen. And so that leads to my biggest question is, what is the origin of the numbers and why are they written on the hatch?
Oh, my friend, you're going to have to wait a long time for those answers. Yeah, they'll come. We do find out what the numbers are and what they mean, but it is a long, long way off. So, and encompassed in that would be, why they're on the hatch. So, yeah. All right, guys, that was numbers. We are in the thick of it now. Just a few more episodes to the end of this season. Next week, number 19, Dos Ex Machina. It is a lock. Sorry, what?
Machina?
Machina.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
Machina.
I don't speak
Machina.
Latin. It looks like machine. It's Machina.
And I think it's
Tu Brute? I mean,
Deus Ex Machina. Deus meaning
Thank you.
God. Yeah. Like Dio.
Right, it means God of the machine. I looked that
Yeah.
up,
God,
but I didn't look how to pronounce it. So
Okay.
next week is an episode I cannot pronounce, which may be a problem because I'm going to present it. It's a lock episode. And yeah, guys, we're going to see you then. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
See y'all.
Bye.
Lost in My 40s is a Space Bear Media production. Executive produced and edited by me, Lacy J. Sound engineering, editing, and original music by Benjamin Trim. Like and follow Lost in My 40s on Facebook to interact with your hosts. Plus, follow Space Bear Media on YouTube to watch our episode pre-shows. You can also find us at SpaceBear_media on Instagram and Twitter. Or come to our website, spacebearmedia.com.